Aloha. Just very quickly going to chime in on one small aspect of the Christopher Watts case, and it's in relation to workmates at Anadarko knowing about Chris's affair with Nicole Kessinger. Because why am I saying this, talking about this? Well, I'm just listening to Critical Gay years later after people started watching her or something. I'm starting to give her a listen, and she mentioned, who in Chris's sphere had a divorce, went through a shit divorce, who could have given him this food for thought around divorce and how devastating it is financially, emotionally, how, you're not going to be free. And, well, number one, Nicole Kessinger herself certainly planted all those seeds. Nicole was very proud of her financial independence, how good she was with money, and she certainly would have been very aware about what would have happened in a divorce, what child support's all about, what visitation rights are all about even. I'm sure she knew it all and talked quite openly with Chris about it. But number two, Kay did say, I don't think anyone at Anadarko knew about him and Kessinger, that they kept it on the down low. And honestly, no, they didn't. I think it goes beyond people seeing them talking close in the corridors, etc. Because remember, Chris Watts's colleagues at Anadarko sarcastically, in part, called him the Silver Fox. Sarcastic because the guy has, he's as dull as a dishcloth, and they were probably couldn't believe the guy had it in him to go after the office crumpet. And, the grey hair, and it's kind of, we all know what a silver fox is. Usually it's kind of a compliment that, a man is rakish, suave, an older gentleman that is secure, has the moves, might be a little bit racy, bit of maybe a batchy. Sometimes you say it kindly about married men and everything. Oh, you've got the silver fox there or something like that. And, you're pumping up their egos. But usually it's said about people that probably don't need an ego pump. And we all know what silver fox means usually. So I believe it was a little bit sarcastic when it came to Christopher Watts. But they were saying it because, holy shit, look, he and Nicole are on. And I think there's a lot of feelings of sadness, confusion, and regret with the workmates, because they would have been aware of who Shan'ann was and would have probably thought she was a beautiful, young, hardworking woman, dedicated to family. That's what they would have thought, perhaps. And regardless of their personal ideas on how much time she spent online, what she did for work, etc. Okay, so absolutely they knew, and absolutely they may have even had conversations about divorce. I think Troy himself said he skated so close to that wind with his marriage during the time that he knew Chris, perhaps. So perhaps Troy himself had even been talking about divorce just with relation to his own life. I mean, and Chris is this sponge taking this in. So I think he did have colleagues talking about it. He very well may have had family friends of his parents that have gone through divorce, But I think colleagues and Nicole Kessinger herself have made sure that Christopher Watts knows how devastating and painful divorce is. And, this is part of the reason. I mean, look, divorce happens, shit happens, it's devastating, it's draining in so many ways, it's hard on everybody involved. So each origin family, the children, their futures, your new futures with new partners, it's complicated, it's complex. But, it does happen. But, we need to try and mitigate divorce, all this pain, all this suffering, the financial burdens, the travel restrictions, the lifestyle restrictions, the complicated structures of our lives by making good choices, choosing good partners, and not bringing people into the world, human beings that are going to have to, their life is whatever the outcome of your choices are. Because, it's a small world now. People meet when they're overseas and have children and things like this. And they get stuck in countries with none of their own origin family. Then what if it breaks up? I've got a friend whose close friend went traveling in Italy, got pregnant, and can't come home, can't bring her son home, etc. It's expensive, it's isolating, it's lonely, it's confusing, it's burdensome, So think, think about it. Each move that you make in life, it's not only affecting you, it could be affecting others quite a lot, significantly. So this was just going to be a few minutes. See how I dressed for you today. Yes, not. So, what do you think? I personally think Anadarko colleagues, at least to some degree, or some of them, knew exactly what was going on with Kessinger and Watts. I think they were witness to quite a lot of the shenanigans, the flirtation. I think they noticed when people arrived and left, where and when they had their lunch breaks, the smiles, the surreptitious, the little touches, the rubs, those corridor talks, etc. It would have been, we all know, we've all been in workplaces, and it's all, it's totally noticeable when people are having an affair or when they have something going on. Sometimes because they very pointedly ignore each other and avoid each other, whatever it is. But they knew. There's no guilt on their shoulders. I mean, even if they have talked terribly about what divorce does financially, emotionally, etc. Chris could have chosen then, okay, well, maybe I need to work on my marriage instead. Maybe I can just have affairs. Maybe I don't need to go off and start new relationships every time I just meet someone that pays me any attention. Who was it? I'm sorry that I don't know. I can't remember if it was Unmasked or someone that, or Megan J or someone that had it alive that was showing the gymnasium that both Kessinger and Watts may have belonged to the year before Kessinger started at Anadarko, and speculated and gave quite a strong case for the option of Nicole and Watts meeting in a gym before she started at Anadarko, maybe having a flirtation, maybe just having sexual encounters, and then she turns up at Anadarko. It would explain why she has Googled him, I guess, at the time, prior to getting really hot and heavy when they were colleagues. So, yeah, I don't think Chris Watts is a stranger to having extramarital affairs. I, my idea of this is, seriously, how do you not know? How do you not know you're not having intimacy, that you are not close, that you are not friends with your partner, that it's not a real relationship, that it's kind of this Clayton's relationship? Clayton's, it's probably a British drink, and it's definitely an Aussie thing, I guess, and maybe in New Zealand. Clayton's is the drink you have when you're not having a drink. It's like this beverage cordial type thing that you will add to ginger ale or something, so that non-drinkers can have this kind of whiskey and ginger style drink or something like that without the alcohol, right? So, a Clayton's relationship is, this semblance, this resemblance superficially to relationship, but there is no there is nothing going on here. You're sharing space, you're talking at each other, you think you're doing things in a manner that is shallow. And to be self-centered or to be unaware, many things could cause that, I guess, from just personality, naivety, personality disorders, to cognitive disorders, to backgrounds of your own life, having repercussions in how you view relationships. Who knows? So there's kind of like one person that's in the dark. The other person knows that it's all a play act, but this other person doesn't, and they're not really gelling. It's not an enmeshment. It's not deep. It's not authentic. Whether it started off, I mean, it didn't even, and if one person wants what they want, and if one person's of the type that if it serves them at the time, they go with it. Oh, I mean, that's dangerous. Slow down, ladies and gents. Slow down. Get to know people and evaluate the effect on your life that person will have, I guess. And, attraction and affection isn't always love. And those things always mean different things in relationships. They don't always mean that you're good together. So in that regard, yes, I do think this unevenly yoked thing would come in between Shan'ann and Chris. I think if both of them had different partners, their lives and outcomes obviously would have been very different. I mean, Shan'ann had been in a relationship before. I don't believe the man had a bad word to say about her, but she'd been married and divorced very quickly. I think because the gentleman was of the type where, he realized this isn't the type of marriage that I want. He didn't hold any grudges, but he just knew he wasn't the man to provide it for Shan'ann. And they seem to have broken up amicably, to all intents and purposes that we know. And that was that, and on she's moved. I can't say anything about the illnesses and things. I don't know enough about it. Yeah, I think they lived in a very intense, very, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so what do you think? Do you think Chris Watts's colleagues at Anadarko knew about the affair? Why do you think they didn't tell the feds? Or if they did, why is it not on record properly? Troy certainly talked about working with Chris, discussions that they would have, and he did drop in, oh, I'd been going through marriage difficulties myself. Apologies if this wasn't Troy, but someone else. You know, it wasn't expanded on, like law enforcement didn't then ask, oh right, so what sort of conversations did you have with Chris around that, and with around marriage difficulties, with around divorce? Did you discuss legalities, the cost of lawyers, the cost of having two homes? Is this why you stayed together with your wife? Or was it, yeah, it didn't seem to go anywhere, and it would have been very interesting to know. The other thing, actually, I believe, is that Chris told Ronnie Watts everything in the car. He told him the truth right then and there. I don't know if they came up with what they came up with in the car themselves, but I think Ronnie knew all along what happened, and when he went into that room, he was going to go along with anything and just try to support his shit-stained son in any way, shape or form. In some ways, they only really had each other. Well, Ronnie really only had Chris. Cindy Watts is just, wow. What a god-awful woman. Yeah, another thing I'd wondered too, if anyone was there that night, I'm just like, how can we find out if where Jamie was? Yeah. But, the singular ping of Nicole Kessinger in the morning, after all those times she went to work from her apartment to Anadarko, she never, ever pinged there except that one time. And it is very strange what was happening with the house technology, Chris's phone technology, etc., all the data during that 111-minute phone call the night before Shan'ann and the girls were reported missing by Nicole Atkinson. Yeah, Megan J says some, points out a few interesting things about Nicole Atkinson. I don't know what anyone would feel in the situation. It would be very difficult. I don't know why they were allowed in the house. 3 people, not related to the family, a young child especially, running around the home, but also that Nicole Atkinson, she doesn't think she went to check at the pool, even though she suggested it. She didn't go down there. Was it just because she kind of thought from the start she knew she wasn't going to find Shan'ann there? Did she just want to see how Chris would react to suggestions, as a test? I kind of feel like that might be the case. I don't know. Anyway, this is 18 minutes and 52 seconds. I thought it was just going to be 3 minutes, so sorry. I always say that this at the end, just put it on 2.0 and just skip through if you are interested in listening. I'm not really saying much. I'm just having a chat, aren't I, about Christopher Watts and his affair with Nicole Kessinger and the comments about Silver Fox. Okay, so Christopher Watts was known as Silver Fox for a reason. There's no way he would have had that particular moniker on top of Rain Man if there wasn't something sexual in nature that they knew about. Okay, it wouldn't have crossed their minds, because he's just not naturally a silver fox, a dude that walks in and you just automatically you go, hey, you silver fox. That's not Christopher Watts is 100% not that guy. absolutely not that guy. Yeah. But, you know, when two people have chemistry, I mean, that's something unexplainable to outsiders. That's just people having chemistry, okay? So, you know, to Nicole Kessinger, sure, yeah, he was that guy. They had friction. Um, you know, who knows what inside each other, you know, was connecting. But something was, you know, so... Um, and it was obvious to people around them, you know. So, yeah, that's where the silver fox comes from. It comes from the fact that they know that Chris Watts is having an affair. Maybe if he had that nickname, it would be interesting to know when that nickname came up. Maybe he had that nickname even before, as soon as he started, because they knew he screwed around. But I don't think so. I think it's solely because they know that he was the one out of all of the guys that would have been salivating over a yes. Yes, ladies. Nicole Kessinger, to most men would find her sexually attractive. Doesn't mean they have to like her or anything, but and doesn't mean that she's not like a strange person. Maybe she's not. I don't know, but yes, they would have seen that she's attractive, even if it's purely because she's got tits. Okay, it's just the bottom line. Okay, and she had a fit body. She cared about her external appearance. She had clear skin, pretty eyes. She's got this lovely long hair. I mean, these are the things that guys would notice and look at, okay? Whether you like to admit it or not. And Christopher Watts, to be the one bagging that person, yeah, that's why he's the silver fox. No other reason, okay?